Now, good afternoon, you all. Let's see. Of course, I need to welcome all of you. It looks as if we have a bunch of old hands at this to the opening lunchtime, the opening lecture of the 2016-2017 Lunchtime Lecture Series. I'm glad many of you have picked up the schedule. As you go through it, you'll see that that we are right in saying that Nola Reed Knaus and I are right in saying that we think we have a pretty good lineup this season, and we hope to see you back here for all of them. And bring a friend. We need more people to fill these chairs. We also had sitting out a little half sheet of paper with the black and white picture of the archive building. The reason it's here is the backside. Internet addresses of Moravian publications, not necessarily put on the internet by the Moravian archives, especially that number one item, records of the Moravians in North Carolina. All 13 volumes are now available on the internet. Just go to the website address, you will find it, and you'll find a whole lot more. Now, as we begin our topic today, the girls' school goes radical. I have to say that if you're expecting panty raids on the brother's house or other dire matters, the door is open, as the Moravian Church says, because we don't want you disappointed with this very drear lecture that we're going to have. None whatsoever, Tom, and no wandering beyond the Below home, which was the absolute positive last limits that Margaret McQuiston could walk with her Salem College, fellow Salem College girls. Otherwise, she would be drawn into the wild and crazy town of Winston up the hill. Oh, what a dreadful fate. I do need to give a shout out to those who are not able to attend in person, but I hope we'll enjoy it on the YouTube in another couple of weeks. Gordon Bondurant and his wife Linda down in Charleston, Lacey Hefty up in Pennsylvania, Joel Peavy House in Tennessee. We're all over the place. Dear Peggy Tesh here at home, she's celebrating her 86th birthday. Thank you. Don Lineback down in Charlotte, and I better say something about Lineback family somehow. And my dear sister Nancy, who has far more important things to do than to listen to her dorky younger brother. She is doing Meals on Wheels, more important. Now, speaking of radical, the very notion of teaching, wasting your time instructing females, well, that's radical. We know in our church's history, our Bishop John Amos Comenius highly recommended it. As a come on, he suggested they would give them less time for meddling. But also, it would give their husbands a very good, well-educated wife to lean upon and say, honey, where did I leave whatever it was, or that stray fact that I cannot remember, can you please come? And my wife, Susan, comes up with it. I'm amazed how she's far more educated than I am. Here in Salem, with our Moravian tradition of having our females as well educated as our brethren, well, almost, also in domestic matters as well. I don't see the young men at the boys' school learning embroidery and things like that. Shame on them. But with Salem being now the central community of Wachovia in 1772, first thing to do is Brother Paul Tirsch started the boys' school in December of 1771. You know it isn't going to be long before we have these sisters being educated as well, the little girls being taught. Well, Salem congregation opened up its purse and had an agreement that Sister Elizabeth Ersteline, would take in 3 little children, little girls, and we look on that today as being the beginning of the educational institution for females here in Salem. The girls of the community first, and then later on, after a number of requests and inquiries, I guess our neighbors had heard that we had that we had a school for girls up in Bethlehem, a female seminary up there, and they also saw a boys' school being operated. Could you please start a boarding school for outsiders? And it was in 1802 that Salem congregation took the plunge and asked that our Samuel Crouch be called as the inspector, president, of the brand new girls' boarding school to be held in a new building just south of the Gemein House in Salem. Samuel Crouch took up his duties in 1802. No building, no students. The building that was earmarked first was, well, we're building the building for the girls' school, but here is the Gemein House that had been built and dedicated on November 13th, 1771, when Salem congregation was organized as a congregation of the worldwide unity. It also served in 1772 as the home of the Single Sisters Choir. So 1803, 1804, while we're building a girls' school building, let's when they show up, yes, May of 1804, three girls from eastern North Carolina showed up that May 1804. They were they took up their living quarters, and Samuel Crouch held classes for them in the Gemein House while the girls' boarding school was being completed. We know this building right next door to the Gemein House as the as South Hall of Salem College, and it is well used even today. Remember, it had a 4th floor put above the third story clerestory windows, dormitory windows, a fourth floor. That was removed in what, late 1960s, to have it put back to the way it is shown here in this early picture of the girls' boarding school. And then something happened. And the house fathers of Salem were in an uproar. You must get rid of Samuel Crumpsh. Oh, God. And ever since then, people have been gleefully trying to ransack the Moravian archives to find out exactly what did Samuel Crumpsh do that sounded so, as my predecessor Daniel Cruz put it, the words sound touchy-feely. Ooh. In a girls' school. It was so bad that we said, Northern Province, please take it. Northern Province said, drop dead. They were smart. And so, like in our great Moravian tradition, we exiled Brother Crumpsh as far away as possible out to Hope Moravian Church on the far west side of Wachovia to serve that community. After all, it's the English congregation, and he managed to speak English, at least most of the time. And in his place, I have to get a plug in for our current project, Records of the Moravians Among the Cherokees, to fill the gap that was created, an instant gap that had to be filled with girls in the boarding school. The Moravian Church called upon dear brother Abraham Steiner, who had pioneered our mission to the Cherokee Nation, including sitting down in meeting with the Cherokees and saying, no, when I say instruct, I mean instruct in the gospel, not start a school, but I guess we'll start a school for you too, for students there. Abraham Steiner continued for 10 solid years, filling the gap that left by Brother Crumpsh. Now, to live up to the billing of this being the girls' school going radical, we better have something to say about what's going on here. Let's see. We come to this man here. Brother Robert Schweinitz, who was inspector of the president. We always called them inspectors until we realized otherwise. People don't call presidents of colleges inspectors. We did. Robert Schweinitz was president of Salem Salem boarding school during its worst or most perilous years, during the Civil War. But he came in with a, shall we say, a triumphant blast, you might say, because you remember the Gemeinhaus, that in 1841 had been turned over to Salem, the boarding school, because it was doing so well. We needed more boarding room, more housing for the students, more classrooms, so on and so forth. Salem congregation had turned over the Gemeinhaus to the boarding school. Here comes Robert Schweinitz. In 1853, there was no Ada Allen to stand before the bulldozers. Bingo! Gone is the Gemeinhaus. Full blossom in 1856 is their brand new main hall, as we call it today, shaking the very foundation of the Salem community. Robert Schweinitz did. He had to endure the decline. We expected that with the unpleasantness of the Civil War upon us, that we expected the girls' school to, pretty much be shuttered. Au contraire. Southern mamas and papas had a good idea of, if we're at war, we had better put our girls in close to a nunnery as we possibly can. Yeah. Surprise, surprise, the number of students rose during the Civil War. Surprising. Robert Schweinitz survived the Civil War, as did his girls' school. A lot of scraping together of supplies, sending Augie Fogel and Mr. Jones, I think his name was, to distant corners of the state to try to find supplies for the girls' school. Our local governor, Zeb Vance, at one point sent a barrel of sugar, I think it was, or flour, to help make stretch them things in the girls' school. But with peace, Robert Schweinitz was called to the north, to the northern province, for further headmaster there. But before he left, he applied to the state legislature, I'm sure with approval of the Provincial Elders Conference at the time, for incorporation as the Salem Female Academy. Finally, Salem had a Salem Girls' School got itself a name. It didn't make any difference, though. The board of directors had been the Provincial Elders Conference. In the incorporation papers, guess who was named as the board of directors of the Salem Female Academy? Provincial Elders Conference. A lot of change there. Oh, salary at that time, 1869, was raised, this was after Brother Schweinitz was raised from, to match Bethlehem, from $10 a month to $12. I don't know if you recognize him. Some of you might. This sort of tiny man here, Edward Rontaler, our longtime bishop of the Moravian Church. He was the first of two saviors of the Salem Female Academy. The president before him, Brother Theophilus Zorn, had a remarkable skill of juggling the books. He would present a budget that had everything on the up and up, and even made a profit. School, you didn't run a school back there without making a profit. Remember that. Brother Zorn would show that here's our schedule of how we're going to have the money come in, how we're going to have the money come out, and it'll all balance out. Isn't that nice? He didn't tell about the $15,000 debt that he managed to run up in the meantime. $15,000 in 1884 was a major fortune. And how the Moravian Church managed not to close the Female Academy in an instant, I don't know. but they had the wisdom to struggle through, dig into PEC's own sustentation pockets, and call upon, well, the cheapest teacher they knew, a fellow PEC member, yes indeed, Edward Rontaler, who at the time also, was pastor of the home church. So he occupied the house known since 1841 as the bishop's house. And Grace Robinson, if she were here, would tell you this is the southwest corner room overlooking Church Street. In quick fashion, Edward Rontaler, 2 years' time, Edward Rontaler had that school making its profit, returning money back to the sustentation fund, and in effect getting that church up and running again, to the point that in 4 years' time he had to turn matters over to John Cluel because, well, they had more students since about 1854, and they needed a big building project, and John Cluel was the one who oversaw it. It is amazing what the building that went on at that time. The Salem Female Academy started out cheap. May we make use of the old retired pastor's home church? Oh, sure, go ahead and take it. So it was rolled down the hill. This was an 1817 building constructed right next to the home church. It was rolled down the hill, sort of like down the driveway that's there now. That was the first of the new buildings, provided room for 2 classrooms worth of students. There was more building going on. Let's see. A new science, a remodeled science building, Annex Hall. The school began advertising in the local church newspaper, the Wachovia Moravian, announcing itself as Salem Academy / College. Ah, yes, a hint of things to come. We entered the 20th century with John Cluel still as president. A great idea was the 100th anniversary of the call of Brother Samuel Crumps to be the first inspector of the girls' school, a centennial hall called Memorial Hall across Church Street from Home Moravian Church, over here where I'm standing. And you notice Memorial Hall has a nice Greek portico facing out to, here's Academy Street. Wait a minute. What happened? Where's the inspector's house? The house where the president of Salem Academy and College. Why, there's Ada Allen herself saying, "Oh, no, you don't, bulldozers." She saved the inspector's house from this grand view that Memorial Hall would have out onto Salem Square. This was big stuff back then. So much so that for the centennial in 1802, our governor at the time was invited, somebody by the name of Charles B. Aycock. known today, besmirched today for other things, but known also as the education governor, who suggested or declared with a stirring appeal that an endowment of $100,000 be raised by year's end. Salem Academy and College had more than $30,000 raised. And with John Cluel going north to take care of school matters up in the northern province, this is getting to be familiar, we called on one of our own, son of Edward Rontaler, Howard Rontaler, to be the first. Well, they finally gave up on the name inspector. And he was, by heavens, officially president of Salem Academy and College. Also, just as he was brought in as president, also Salem Academy and College got its very first board of directors, including, yes, Provincial Elders Conference, but also members of their board of directors, 11 of them elected by the Synod of the Moravian Church, Southern Province. A giant step, Wachovia Moravian called it revolutionary, toward independence from the Moravian Church, Southern Province. Now, Howard Rontaler had the misfortune of being president during a time of, well, not much growth, the 1930s of the Great Depression. My mother remembered that there were, what was it, only 7 or 8 students in her class in 1935. It was, the school shrank. And then we had the, one thing that Howard Rontaler presided over was in 2010, 1910, thank you. Early on in his administration, he got a sweetheart of a deal from Salem congregation, a great gift, engineered by Colonel Francis Fries, of the of the Sisters' House of Salem, without one word of, if you don't mind, to the single sisters, who were told, oh, you can just go over to the old brother's house, now known as the widow's house, and you can stay over there. Even in the late 1980s, my ears rang with the single sisters still declaring that was highway robbery. And that Salem congregation never even so much as asked that the sisters would have been happy to donate. No. Howard Rontaler had, I believe he had the longest tenure as president of Salem Academy and College, bringing us up to his successor in 1949. When we had, in one of our histories, it was, let's see, with change after the World War II, many well-known and respected persons had retired, new persons were rising in the bank. In having served for 4 decades, it was time in 1948 for Howard Rontaler to retire. How delicate can you get? In his place, can you believe it, they called a newspaper man, an editor of the Bethlehem Globe-Times by the name of, yes, Dale Gramley. Everybody knows Dale Gramley. Well, if you didn't know his background, you'd say that was a cockamamie idea. But during World War II, who saved Moravian College? Dale Gramley. Dale Gramley had the habit of being out in the community saying, "Hi, how are you? We got a great school here. Let me filter your pockets, thank you." He was a fundraiser and a half, and almost immediately, new building came along. 1952 Science Building. It's 1952. What is Salem College's Science Building today? Which is why we're having an endowment fundraiser even today. And Salem College is on the prowl for where we're going to put the new science building. Now, okay. After the retirement of Dale Gramley, with the Salem College Fine Arts Center being built as well. Some will remember that when Winston-Salem applied to be an all-American city, Dale Gramley made the presentation to that organization that awards All-America City, and started off by saying, let's see, we're somewhere around 4,000 miles west of Algeria. That pinpoints us. Dale Gramley retired in 1971. And then Salem College fell upon its hardest time. Hardest time since a fortune of $15,000 in debt, where Edward Rontaler saved us. Struggling through the Great Depression. With only 7 students, as my mother remembered it. In her class, there were other classes, so they must have had about 35 or 40 students. Roy Campbell probably knew the name of every single one of them as their science teacher. Salem College fell on hard times. There was a radical notion of, we want to join all those men's schools, Harvard, Yale, Williams College. They wanted, why? I don't know. But the idea of an all-girls school went, boom, down the tubes. It severely, severely damaged Salem College. It went through one president after another, after another, after another, 4 presidents. I was told that one incoming class consisted of only 66 students. They also had the problem that the fire marshal came in one time to one of their dormitories, known as the Sisters' House today. Where's the fire escape? Oh, it's the rope tied to the bed. Boom. Sister's house shut down, unusable. Well, do you bulldoze it? What are you going to do? Somehow, through some good fortune, the 18th president of Salem Academy and College was a woman. Can you believe what a novel idea? A woman leading a girls' school. You'd think it's a no-brainer. 25 years ago, August 1st, 1991, Julianne Still Thrift became the 18th president of Salem Academy and College. First woman to hold that position. I don't know about the rest of those schools that faded into. Where's Radcliffe? Anybody seen Radcliffe lately? No, they all want to be Harvard girls. Why? Julianne Stillthrift came in. She was a breath of, Helen Voss put it, contagious enthusiasm. As Helen Voss put it in the Moravian magazine of the time. And almost immediately, she was out doing a Dale Gramley and a half of raising money, this, that, and the other. First mention is a $20 million $20 million endowment fund. More fundraising, continuing to raise funds for the Salem Academy and College, increasing, building new buildings, till finally, of course, we have to retire to the end. In 2005, Salem Academy and College aimed to raise $75 million. That's a little bit more than $100,000 that Governor Aycock suggested in the year 1902. $75 million for let's see, with renovation of residence halls, academic, athletic grounds, this, that, and the other, and working on not bulldozing, but recreating the Sisters' House in 2006 and 2007 being opened up to as a high-tech meeting place where classes are held. Museum is there, assembly hall. It is a multifunctional 1786 building. Cornerstone laid in 1785, which is the difference for the year. And so Salem Academy and College has progressed all these years with surprising radical movements. Here, there, you're going to hear more about Salem Academy and College in future years because it's always being radical. Thank you all. Didn't mean to take forever. Next lunchtime lecture, October 13th. You have it on your schedule. I will keep it short. The 250th anniversary of Salem wraps it up. Thank you very much. See you here, and hello to all who tune in on the YouTube. We'll see you again later on.